and welcome to the Honest Proper Tea podcast with your hosts, Ruth and Rebecca.
We have a guest on with us today, the amazing Maddie. So we've known Maddie from, I feel like it's been a decade, maybe
Yes.
more.
I think it must be at least, yeah.
And Maddie is a mother and entrepreneur and property investor who has, just like her sister in her own way, designed a life that she loves as well. Um, so we met Maddie. I got a message on Facebook a long time ago about a network marketing opportunity. And I had just finished university and I was like, this sounds intriguing. So we met Maddie at a coffee shop and the rest is the rest is history. um,
But Maddie has always been entrepreneurial, and she started several business ventures from bodycon dresses to starting her own letting agency. Maddie is a former Miss Bristol as well, and now she self-manages her own HMO portfolio.
yeah.
We're really excited to have her on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat to you guys.
So shall we begin with how did your whole entrepreneurial journey begin?
Yeah, tell us your
Oh my goodness.
background.
Okay, so background, how far back are we going? So I had, a really lovely childhood and, probably quite a privileged childhood where I kind of had lovely holidays, went to a lovely school and you're just living your life, had lovely friends. And I feel like maybe when I hit more teenage years, I had that real, I don't know if you guys have this, but that kind of sense of urgency of, oh, I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life now. All of my friends
Mm.
were pretty smart, and I wasn't particularly academically smart, were kind of signing up for university and knew that they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it might be. And I just thought, God, I really don't know. Like, I don't feel that I fit into any of these boxes. But what I do know is that I want to continue having a really nice life. And, one day when I become a mum, which is definitely the only thing that I knew for sure, I want to be able to provide a lovely childhood as I've had myself. So in terms of, my entrepreneurial journey, I think it was just like a bit of a fire in my stomach to think, right, I'm going to have to find a way. I'm not so clever that I'm going to be, having one of these tick box jobs, but find a way to make enough money and to have freedom and to be able to kind of live a life that I want to live, as well as enjoying it and not sort of exchanging my time for money. And yeah, being in a boring job that I'd be forcing myself to do just for the money. So yeah, that's probably where the whole kind of I need to figure something out thoughts came from. And in terms of starting businesses, it was probably actually the network marketing. I think I was approached by somebody who explained all of that. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the thing to do, but what you learn in that journey is,
I'm really
Invaluable,
grateful
actually.
that you actually messaged me because then I told Ruth about it and it was such a whole
New
load
ex-
of learning, wasn't it? Like
Mm.
business
always
wise.
learning.
Like we said that even though we didn't continue, we are really grateful for all of the lessons we learnt from it. And it really,
Mhm.
we were able to implement it into what we actually wanted to do. So we're very grateful.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think it also teaches you how to do personal development,
Mm.
which I think I've sort of become the person that I am through personal development more so than going to school, going to university. Obviously, you learn a lot there and you grow as a person, but actually reading those books and being around those kind of people, it really like pushes you onto that next stage, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Majorly. I think
definitely.
it was very much about not caring what other people think. We were
Mhm.
always reading books and sharing books that we were recommending to each other.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I just get obsessed with I'd read we read so many productivity books, didn't
Oh
we?
God, we were like serial reading productivity books.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then when you actually can feel a difference in yourself, like as a person and in your knowledge, like it's worth it. I used to just
Mm.
honestly, I think for 10 years I read personal development books. I didn't even read like a novel for I've only just
Yeah,
started
yeah.
reading. Like now that I have a child, I'm like, no, I'm gonna read this juicy novel about an affair or something. Like I can totally, get into. But before I was like, no, no, no. I don't know why, but I just had this real fire that I felt in my 20s, I was like, this is my time and this is my chance
Mm.
to learn a lot. And kind of before you have all of the responsibilities of the mortgage and kids and all of that, and life gets a little bit more on top of you, make something of yourself. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think network marketing, I'm really grateful for that. A lot of things I didn't enjoy about the network marketing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
learn from that as well. I didn't like
Yeah.
necessarily the pushiness and some of the people, and their tactics. But again, like it's all trial and error. And I think with
Yeah.
business, it's all trial and error and failing your way to success to a certain extent.
Yeah. Could I ask as well? Because, like, I personally, I went to university. You did fashion, didn't you, at
Did.
uni? I did fine art, and I went to university knowing that, like, I wasn't going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I was a very creative person. And I thought, oh, I don't really fit
Mhm,
that. I don't tick those boxes either. What's the point of me even going? But
mhm.
do you feel like there's a part of you that has made you go into business to kind of prove yourself to other people that, like, actually I can really do more than what people expect of me?
Yeah, I think we have this kind of idea of ourselves, don't we? And I did, and I'm not blaming anyone, but I always had this idea that I was always kind of away with the fairies. My dad, who was my hero, but he used to call me Lala. And so I had the nickname Lala for a long time because I was literally like, la, 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 living my life. Just not really focused on anything, I guess. Nothing really like took my interest as much, other than fashion and clothes and makeup and all of that at certain times. But and I think naturally, especially also being a younger sister, I don't know, I naturally took that role of not really the smart one, kind of the ditzy one, didn't really know what was going on. And even today, I have a little bit of imposter syndrome that I have a successful business and it's mine. Like I sometimes today, I'm like, oh, I'll go into that mode of um, the underdog a little bit. But yeah, again, with personal growth, like just having that belief in yourself and actually, I think I'm such a believer in that you don't need to be ridiculously confident and definitely not arrogant about anything and just pedal away and work really hard and you can build your dreams in the background and just be really humble about it as you go. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it did. Because, like, I know that as I'm a younger sister as well,
Yeah.
but I can really relate to what you're saying, like,
Yeah,
massively.
and I think everybody thought, "Oh, what's Maddie gonna do?" Like, it's a bit of a worry. She's not really focused. And not that I was, out doing anything. I was probably a bit of a goody two shoes, but I wasn't really studying or focusing, or nothing really took my interest so much with that. So yeah, I think, and every now and again, my mum might say, "Oh, well, I thought you three girls were all going to become doctors or something." And I often have to remind her, "Mum, I actually, money wise, and a lot more than them. And also, we're out for lunch right now, so if you're studying
Yeah.
rather than me being in a So there's a lot of this idea of you know, success. I personally just think it's having freedom and choice in your life.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm.
Obviously money help, you have to have the money to be able to do that, but having a really, and I know you guys really pushed it. I've listened to some of your episodes, having a really secure business that isn't, like a quick fix kind of thing, just
Mm.
something that will give you stability in your life for yourself and your family.
Totally. I feel like just going back to the sibling roles and sort of your influence at school, I don't know about you, but because we both went to private school and we were seeing other people being academic, and then maybe you're not
Mm.
Oxford or Cambridge level smart. So you
Yeah.
feel like you have to
Definitely not.
figure out a way to kind of be around, like sort of match your environment. And the same
Mm.
happened with network marketing. I feel like we were around so many ambitious people, so many driven people. So if you're always in
Those cir
environments and circles of people, whether it's being in the right workplace, I guess, like network marketing,
Mhm,
or where you raise your children, the environment you're in, that can just open up so many doors and just like your mindset more than anything
Yeah.
to get you just going, even if you don't go down a traditional path. Like you say, you will find a way.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so
and
that
like, just
yeah.
having that mindset, and it is
Mm,
mindset. Like, I actually think your mindset and how you frame things in your mind and, gives you the setup to either work for it or not. and it doesn't really matter how specifically bright you are, you're just gonna work that little bit harder if you can't quite, so 100% mindset and being around those people so that that becomes the norm.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, it's on your phone. Sorry, one sec.
I've written all the I just look back at the
I think
messages.
I'm babbling on a bit, I think.
No, it's good.
I actually feel like I could have a million things to say about network marketing, but I'm trying not to go down that route, unless, of course, you
Actually kind of
want
like
to.
sometimes we're like, "Oh god," like, I got people involved with that and stuff, and a lot of it is really pushy, and that's actually not who
Mm,
I am.
yeah.
Um, so but yeah, grateful for the things that
Grateful
it
for the
taught. I
lesson.
think I wouldn't have gone on to the next. I think you go from one thing to another, don't you, until you find your sweet spot of, strategy that works.
It definitely helps you build the confidence. Like I naturally am a quieter person,
Doing those
and doing those
presentations,
presentations, we
Yeah.
look back and we go, oh, like
so many
so
presentations.
many presentations, but it's like it really builds your confidence in being able to speak to people. And like we wouldn't say we're like naturally sales people at all. So that was such just a I'm
I think that's the greatest business learning thing to learn in business is
Mhm.
sales, isn't
Yeah.
it? So we were forced to do it, and
Mhm.
it worked well for a little while. But there
Mhm.
are a lot of things we didn't realize about network marketing that weren't aligning
with what our
well.
goals were. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think for all of us, we were all really young in our 20s. We were looking up to all these 40, 50, 60-year olds
Yeah.
who are like,
Making
promising.
claims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but all the book recommendations.
Yeah, yeah, grateful for the
On
books.
paper, it makes like the whole model absolutely makes sense, and there
Mm.
are people who succeed in it, but you're still promote you're a salesperson for someone else's business, and you're
Do you feel like that kind of really led you to go, "Oh, I actually really wanna do my own thing," instead of working for someone, like, being part of someone else's
dream.
model
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
dream?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I just have always loved being in charge of my own little life and my own diary. And I've had businesses, like for example, you mentioned earlier when I had lettings business and things like that. And I used to manage a lot of property, which I also really enjoyed. Like I'm a real people person and really enjoy working with people. But you get the odd vendor or tenant that's just really awkward that you maybe didn't pick, or and then you're kind of being treated like a bit of a concierge service. So I think, yeah, I did that for probably a few years and then got to the point where I was like, well, actually, no, I think I'm just going to invest in my own stuff, pick my own tenants, be in charge of my own diary and life, and basically not be bossed around, and
Yeah.
just have the control of it.
Yeah, I think, that's pretty much why we did the same.
So
Yeah.
you went from I remember the bodycon era.
Oh,
My God.
yeah, I think we
Yeah.
bought some actually.
Like,
Yeah, I did. I think I
Yeah,
bought a red one.
yeah.
well, that would have looked amazing on you.
I felt like a senorita and it was lovely.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's the thing. We've always been like drawn to the sisters because we're also like
Yeah, and
enterprising.
we're
Even
very
yeah.
much well, we very much love supporting small businesses as like anyone starting out because we
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah.
it feels like to start out, and
Hmm.
not a lot of people have a lot of confidence in you. So like we're very very pro in support everyone who's starting their own thing.
Hmm. No, absolutely. I think I agree. And everyone's got to start somewhere, whether it becomes a small or a big business. So much better to support those than all the big chains out there.
So you
Yeah.
started network marketing. Well, you started several things, and then obviously came to property. How did you go from network marketing
I
to
think
property?
naturally, similarly to you guys, I'm quite a creative person, more so that way than, a logical person. So I loved all the fashion and things like that. And I think I remember it was just my era of going to Ibiza and Marbella and da 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 with all the girls, and we would just buy our dresses and plan our outfits and whatever. And then I think I was in Ibiza or something, and a couple of people like, "Oh, where'd you get that dress from?" or whatever. And I used to get dresses made from wholesalers, and then I would order like a whole bunch and then just sell them or give them to friends, and then just kind of like ended up making a little bit more money than my mate was working part time in the pub. while I was at uni. So I was like, okay, making a few hundred quid a day, not really having to do much, ordering these dresses and things. So loved that. And then that naturally came to an end when, these big Boohoo and Pretty Little Things
Mm.
all like came into their own. And I wasn't really in the mindset to be trying to take it to that. I think it crossed my mind at one point to take it to that next level. I remember going to Liverpool to some like wholesalers, and I was picking out different dresses for like the next stock drop that I was going to do, and it was literally just me. I think my mum drove me, and then I remember actually there were buyers from like Pretty Little Thing who were buying like 500 of these dresses or something like all the same
Wow.
stuff. It's all the same crap, really. And just thinking like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to compete with that kind of thing, like huge, huge businesses. But it made me a bit of cash at the time and I really enjoyed it. And I always had like a full closet of new bits and pieces for myself as well. And then what did I do after that? Okay, so then finished university. So I studied fashion at uni, and that was honestly because that was the only thing I could think that I was interested in at the time. Like I didn't specifically think about my future or, what could I if I was going to do it again, I would maybe do architecture or something like that. But
Mm.
um
Do you
at the
feel like you
time,
went to university because you felt you had to, like, because everyone else
yeah, and I
was?
didn't know what the next step was. I just
Yeah.
honestly copied my friends. I was really lucky that I had a real group of friends that were super switched on, and it was like a good group of girls, and they were all going to uni to do their different things that they were quite specific about, and I just thought, "Okay, well, I'll just find a course that I like." So I did fashion and then fine arts, and just because I enjoyed it, like, that was the creativity of it I really loved, but then kind of quickly realized that a life in fashion, I think once I finished university, it was like, "Okay, go and be an intern at Louis Vuitton in London." And I was
Yeah.
thinking, "I'm quite used to my cushy life. Why don't I go and not get paid and then pay rent in London and
Ooh.
hope that one day someone's gonna hire me because they've liked me or whatever." So and I'm also not a particularly ballsy person that, I was gonna tread all over anyone else to get that spot of that specific job to be in.
Yeah.
So, really loved that. And then after that, I went into a state agency. So, um yeah, and then I just fell in love with interiors, floor plans, and loved, doing the viewings and meeting people. And I was lucky to get a job at a lovely agency where, they were selling huge houses. So it wasn't 10 viewings a day, it would be one or two viewings a day of beautiful, country homes or townhouses, which was hugely inspiring to kind of
That
see.
must
And
have been so enjoyable, actually. I can imagine that. Just going to
Yeah.
so fun
lovely houses.
snooping around
Mm.
and dealing with, really lovely people that mostly were
Mm.
entrepreneur and were really successful, selling these big homes. And then they would often buy development opportunities through the agency, and I could sit down and give my little input and go, well, if I was going to design this living room, da 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 da, um, and kind of built some really good relationships, but still very much. And so I loved the estate agency work, and I did that probably for 10 years. But towards the end of that, still had that. Well, I'm working for someone else ultimately, and I'm being paid a salary, and I'm having to come in at this time and leave at that time, and hit these sales figures or whatever. So, but then I definitely felt like it was, it kind of fit my creative side. I would be able to
Mm.
do it and work for myself, and I was gaining loads of knowledge while I was in the agency as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, do you feel like it really helped you by surrounding yourself in that sort of environment to go, "Oh, actually, that's gonna take me to the next step in building your own portfolio?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, if I do the math, I think I did a flat once or something that went to auction, and thinking if I do the maths and I can do this place up and rent this for this or what sell this for whatever it was, I think I was going to make like my annual salary in a much, much shorter time if I can just get my head in the game. And I really enjoyed it. So it wasn't difficult for me to do that. But yeah, stripping wallpaper and smashing
Did
places
you do
apart.
that your Did you do any of that yourself?
Oh, yeah, for a long time. I've only actually since having a child sort of stopped that, and I kinda miss it, because it's okay, like, doing that hard laborious work when it's for yourself.
Mm.
Um, so,
It's
yeah,
also
years
nice knowing that you know those skills.
I mean, the skills that were like, take a sledgehammer to a wall or, or literally the wallpaper stripping, the bane of my life,
Oh
but
my
kind of
gosh.
so
Oh God, don't get
satisfying.
us started.
So,
Have you ever
that
discovered anything under, like when you've pulled back a property, have you discovered anything
oh,
interesting?
so much random stuff. So much random stuff. It's always, like an old newspaper from literally the 1600s or something, and you
Mhm.
read an article and you're like, "Whoa, what was going on that day?"
Yeah.
Um, like, oh my god, the worst one, I did one in Totterdown, and I think they must have, yeah, just thrown their rubbish out of the window behind them for years, and the garden was just piled high with
Oh
rotting rubbish and,
God.
syringes everywhere and things like that. But
Um,
I would get my gloves on and, like, clear it all up with alongside, my builders who I always had a really good relationship with and still do. Um, and yeah, like, that's okay. I don't mind doing those jobs if
'Cause
it's
you
for
know
myself.
it's gonna
Because you know
benefit
it's
you.
for yourself, yeah.
Exactly. So, I can't remember where I went. So, yeah, so I sort of did that. I had a period where I feel like I grafted quite hard at being an estate agent, and then I would get up early, meet my builders, make a plan for whatever project we were doing, go to work, spend the day at work, secretly be doing my own bits on the side. I think my boss probably knew but didn't really mind, or be doing my own research or using the right move, like the back thing where you could see
Yeah.
actually what's this going to be worth when I'm done. So juggled the two probably for a good like 5 or 6 years, and then thought, oh, okay, well, I can replace my own salary now and set up a company and just pay myself.
That's
And,
amazing.
and then and then I was, yeah, much more hands on with it then. Um,
So now you've got a steady portfolio now.
yeah, so I kind of found my sweet spot in HMOs. I think you guys are similar, right? Like where buy
We
to let,
started with HMOs, but we've gone back to buy to let, but yeah.
buy to let, is that where, so you're, yeah, not sort of separate rooms
Not
or,
anymore, no. Well, we did, and then we're our life goals have just changed. We don't wanna manage,
We
so
can't manage anymore. So they're social housing now. So
mhm.
we rent them to the council on a 3-year lease,
Oh wow,
basically, and
nice.
they manage everybody in there. And there's no voids because it's just basically guaranteed rent for that whole time.
Great, that's really
Mm.
good. I feel like that'll be my next step at some point. I'll be
yeah.
close.
Yeah, we could talk more about it.
Yeah. But you
I mean,
self-manage, don't you?
I self-manage. I'm quite um, keen on that at the moment still because I've had my fair share of, bad experiences. Which is really scary, I think, for a young woman as well. And so I'm quite keen on like really knowing who's in there, really getting the vibe, doing all the viewings, doing all the referencing. So I kind of keep my finger on the pulse. And actually, once they're in there, if I've got really nice tenants and they want to stay a long time, like I've had groups that have stayed for 3, 4 years. And I'm happy to not up the rent or anything particularly, as long as
Mm,
they're treating it as a happy home, and
they're
I
looking
don't
after it.
Yeah.
yeah, switching them up all the time. So,
How
yeah,
much
I'm
of your
keen on being on it. I like myself and knowing exactly what's going on, but that's also probably the control freak in me.
Well, the thing is, you were a professional in it anyway. You already probably know
Yeah,
how to do it better than
exactly.
a lot of
And also it's
people.
your own investments. You wanna know how it's running.
The
And
the real reason we're leveraging off of management is because we're not always going to be in the same place, but
Mhm.
you're settled in the area that you're living now, so that it
it
totally
makes
makes
complete
sense.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I think like maybe the long game, um, and I think especially if you're gonna, I have a small portfolio, but if you're gonna grow it, like you literally can't manage that much. You can only do so
Yeah.
much. So
yeah.
Yeah, or it could
might
be a
head
case
that way.
of you'll manage part of it and then let a management company manage the rest of it so that you still have your, like you said, finger on the pulse. Is
Yeah,
that was that the term?
that is my term. Yeah.
We're
Yeah, the
we're
finger on
really
the
bad
pulse.
at
Oh, we're
sayings
terrible
like
at
this.
sayings.
Um, how much of your time does it take then? If you're managing your own portfolio, how much?
At the moment, I've got really lovely groups in all of my places. And I would say I'm firing off, a few emails a day. And if I've got my son, he comes first. So I will just do that in and around. Sometimes he's watching Peppa Pig for an extra 15 minutes. And I'll just get that done. But I try and actually just condense it to 2 days when he's at nursery. Um, and I can usually get it all done. Like obviously you've got the odd emergency and you just have to drop everything and sort that, but that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So it really varies. At the moment, I've got loads of tenancies coming to an end and people are moving out and moving in. So I'm doing, an afternoon of viewings and then the next morning of referencing those people if somebody's gone for it or whatever. So I might have a few weeks where it's really, really busy and I have to up my childcare and then it will just go quiet for a while, and it's fine. It's just, general maintenance, and I think if you've got a good team, I've got a really good, a handyman at the moment who's great, and a good team of builders that I really can rely on. And, they're probably not the cheapest that you can find, but it really works for me to have that relationship and have that trust in someone that, I can
Mm.
use and they can go and sort it while I'm busy doing things that are
Thing is,
more.
sometimes if you're paying really cheap, is it what is that
Do
saying?
you find that you get what you
You
Like
get what
get
you
what you
pay
pay
for.
for?
like this, you get what you pay
Yeah,
for,
that's
and
it.
and,
Yeah.
like, it's really important to have really good communication, not someone
Oh
that's gonna get
gosh, yeah.
fed up and leave the job and, have really good communication with someone that you can go, "Right, when you go in and do this, could you just check that everything else is okay and that the tenants are happy, and if there's anything else that they want doing while you're there, is it okay if you stay an extra hour and sort any maintenance bits," or whatever, so, yeah, all relationships as well, I think.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, agree. Yeah, good communication. And if you pay for that, like if that comes at a slightly higher cost, then it's absolutely worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just looking at our questions. One sec.
Awesome. I feel like we've
Going on too much. I'm
Yeah.
such a chatty Cathy today.
Oh, actually, let's how do you handle being a mother and running your own business at the same time? I think this is really
Yeah.
we went to a networking event a couple of years ago, and it was
Mhm.
one of my first times leaving my son to go away for 2 nights, and
Oh
that
my
freaked
god.
me out.
Yeah.
And we were talking to a lot of we met a few more mums who have been starting their journey in property, and they're all struggling
Mhm.
to they go, how do you manage it? And I think that this is quite relevant in asking you as a mum who also runs her own portfolio, like how do you do it? Or is there
I
any
think it would
advice that you can give to other mums out there?
yeah, I would really find it difficult to be starting now and
Mm.
doing that, like, 12 hours wallpaper stripping, filling, getting involved, and you do have to put that work in, don't you, to set up a business before you then reap the rewards for the years to come. So I think I would really struggle now to balance the two without neglecting my child, to be honest. But in terms of running the business now, I'm just grateful for having putting that work in beforehand, and that was always
Mm.
um, my goal. Really, like that was always the thing I knew. I was like, I want to
So
be a
this
mum.
was like investing was part of your family planning,
It was my
basically.
family planning, but it wasn't I had like necessarily a boyfriend or a husband that I was like planning with. I just in my mind knew I'm going to be a mum at some point. And when I am, I'm going to make sure that that child has the most magical childhood and feels really secure and loved. And I'm not, got to go and do this, got to do it, go and do that. Obviously, you do to a certain extent. So that was kind of always my plan. And I'm really grateful because now becoming a mum, you realize more than ever it is so hectic and you don't have any time. Like, I don't have time to go for a wee, let alone go and try and build a property portfolio. Um, Obviously, I definitely plan to grow my business, but I do think life is chapters and you can't, when someone says that mums can do it all, I don't really believe that. I think
Yeah.
you can have a balance, but you can't do everything 100%. So you
No.
just have to prioritize at the time what is the most important thing, and find a really good balance. For a year, I think I did about a year and a half with him, where I still did the odd bit of work, but I was just with him. And actually, now that I have a couple of days of childcare, and so I have definitely those couple of days of work, the balance is so nice,
Do you
and
feel
it's
like it's accepting the chapters? And there is a saying that it helped me a lot mentally becoming a mother, which
Mhm.
was you can have it all, but can't have it all at once. And that
Yes,
took a lot of pressure off feeling
yeah,
like I've got to be all of these things
mhm,
and be a mother at the same time. But
yeah.
it lets you enjoy the seasons
Yeah,
you go through with being a mother
and
and a
it's not
business
a long
owner.
time, like, it's not a long time to spend with your young children and in your life, if that's what you want to do. I I think, like you say, what was that saying?
You can have it all, but not all at
Not
once.
all at once, yeah. So you
Yeah, so
decide
you
what you
will
want
get
at
it
the time.
all.
I mean, like, a part of me is like, God, I would love to be like full time on a site 5 days a week. That would be so much fun. But no, it's more about him right now. There will be a time where I can invest, and hopefully, my knowledge will have grown, so I can do bigger developments and things like that, and bigger investments. And I definitely know I'll go back to that. It's so lovely having your own thing, isn't it? And it is your other baby. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
is important, and it is another baby. But I highly recommend a passive income for anyone that's thinking that they want to have a family, want to be able to, spend that time with them without having to lose out on having money coming in as well. Because it's really important, and kids are really expensive as well.
Do you feel like, I think Ruth and I had this conversation not too long ago, but women are designed to be investors
Investors, yeah.
because we think long term generally, as opposed to the what's immediately in front. And just even considering you knew you were going to have a child and you knew you wanted to be present, so you started making plans even before the man was around. So I
I know,
feel,
it's so weird, so dramatic and full on. But
But it's true.
yeah, women, we have something in us where and then, yeah, the minute I became a mum, it really changes you as a person, doesn't it? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm a completely different person. It's, in a way, really hardened me up, in a way, really softened me, and everything just falls into place, and you just know what's important. Um,
Mm.
and it's just easy to make decisions because you're like, that doesn't serve him or I or my family. And,
So I'm
you
not
know,
going to entertain it.
yeah, I'm not going to entertain it. There's no time. Um, yeah, so it kind of bodes for an easier life as well.
Yeah.
I think in our 20s, we all
We
tried lots of different things. We had the energy and didn't have to be responsible for anyone else. So we didn't really acknowledge where those priorities had to be later on.
we
Um,
kept very busy personally. We kept just striving for the next thing, next thing, next thing. And
Mhm.
now, what?
but yeah, investing
Mm,
was always the answer, and like having something that's like passive as it can
Mhm.
as it
be
can be.
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
exactly that, as passive as it can be,
Yeah.
and to give you that stability, it to just give you options, really. I
Yeah.
mean, I probably sound a bit negative. I wouldn't say that mums can't do it and start from scratch. I think there is always a way, and it depends how much sense of urgency and fire you have. I'm just really grateful to have just done it before,
mm,
Yeah.
um, and then, have quite a stable business where you can grow it. So if you've not s I would say to anybody, if you've not started yet, do it, and don't let the fact that you might have kids or you might have a busy life stop you. Always try and find a way. Um, and if you haven't, do it now.
Yeah.
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 Even if you do it now, it is short term sacrifice for a lot of long term time back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're really glad that we started when we
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. It's allowed us personally to be able to pursue passion business and
Mhm,
like be in property in a way that we want to be and
mhm,
still know that we've got income coming in.
If
And I
if
can
yeah.
work around when I want, like, I have
mhm,
a lot of help, but I can choose to stop working to be
mhm.
there for my son.
Yeah, excellent.
It's like nothing can, um, what's the word? It's just I feel very grateful every day that we started when we started.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's only getting tougher, I think, with all the red tape and things. But as long as you
Yeah.
keep on, I have lots of people saying, oh, I'm thinking of starting to get into HMOs and things. But I don't know, they're bringing in all this different, and I'm like, "No, no, it's fine. It's all just knowledge. It's all just education.
Yeah.
Like, just
Mm.
You
keep
find a
learning as
way.
you go, and there is a way." Um, People always need homes, and
Exactly.
Mm.
People always need homes.
yeah,
And I think if you're going to get your information from the news that always says the negative or you saying you can't do that, then get your
mhm.
information from someone else because that's not the place to go and get it for any inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking for inspiration, yeah. But I'm
It's the place to go to end your dreams. Sorry, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
no, no,
that. We don't read the news, so
mm-mm. I'm not gonna lie, I don't either. I don't like to, my husband takes a mick out of me because he's like, "Oh, you're just da 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 da. Everything's so positive and everything's da da da." And I'm like, "No, no, I've literally read books where like successful people become successful
'Cause
because they
they
are
read it.
reframing things to
Mm.
work themselves. Like,
yeah.
believer in you can decide if the universe is working against you or for you. And either way,
Mm.
it's going to go the way that you believe it. So, um, yeah,
Definitely.
make it work for
It's
you.
not being naive to what's going on. It's just saying, "Oh, I'm going to absorb a small percentage of this and then decide what I take from this," instead of letting it control how you operate your life.
Hmm. Having said that, there's a lot to keep on top of with the legislation, especially now with the
Yeah.
parliament things. But I'm really lucky my husband's on the ball with that. So he'll just give me a bullet point like da 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 da, section 21, this,
Well,
that, and the
that's
other.
the thing. Like,
Tell me all
Yeah.
the updates, and I'm like,
Yeah.
the relevant news will just come to you in whatever form it comes in. You don't go looking for
Yeah,
it in
you
a
wanna just ask your
newspaper.
husband. So it's
Yeah.
and there'll be licensing, things are always changing. So yeah, just keep
Mm.
up with your local council and what you need, better just to be so organized and on top of all of that, and
Mm.
go above and beyond, A, for your tenants anyway, because you want them to, I'm such a believer, if they feel that they're in a really happy, safe home, they will treat it that way, and then
Mm.
you'll have less work eventually. But yeah, you don't need to read all the opinions about everything and all the negative views.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not helpful.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
do have a question actually. Did you, when you were looking for properties, when
Mm.
you were working at the agency, were you able to find anything through the agency, or were you
Yeah, I didn't because I worked for, more high-end agencies,
mm,
and I bought a few bits at auction, and I did actually build quite a few relationships with local agencies, when you're in a chain and dealing with a sale or something. Again, going back to that relationship thing, built some really good relationships. So I might get the odd heads up, this is coming on if you want to come and have a quick viewing. And not that I would get any preferential deals or anything, but you might just be able to like spend a little bit longer measuring up the floor plan or whatever. So yeah, I think in terms of just meeting people in the business, um, but no, I didn't get any deals through because the houses we'd sell would be like 3-4 mil. Um,
yeah.
but I wasn't buying anything like that.
I just wondered if I knew they were just beautiful houses at that agency, but I wondered if somebody like a homeowner, a landowner would come in and be like, I just want to get rid of all
Or
like portfolio of stuff.
yeah, no, I wish, but I did some really good experiences with vendors that would come back and sell homes, and then sometimes they would let me get a little bit involved with like the interiors. I wouldn't be paid or anything, but I would love going and giving my say on how I think they should do it and what would help them to sell and that kind of
Do you
thing.
think that you'll pursue anything creatively in
I can see you as an interior
yeah, I can
designer.
see you as an interior
I've
designer.
felt
Do you think
that
you'll do something with that?
if someone could give me no budget and just go make this look amazing, but again, that goes back to working for someone else.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess if you had your own business, no, you wouldn't be, but you would have your clients, and I guess yeah, tenants are your clients. So that's fine. But yeah, I would love to do that as a passion project. Yeah, I love switching things around in my home, and if I ever have any friends buying anywhere new, I love having my input or whatever. But that would be amazing to be.
Yeah.
I could so see it. Yeah. We got into Airbnb things because we thought, oh, it's
It,
nice to be creative and
yeah.
Doesn't it feel so good
mm.
to
Oh,
like
so
have that
good.
creative
Yeah.
outlet? I'm at the moment kind of trying to figure out with baby number 2 on the way, you know, again, I'm like switching up the whole house. I think Bo, my husband's going to kill me, but I'm like, oh, now we need to make this room, da da da, da, and now I'm going to make this room, this one for, and it actually makes me so happy. Like,
It
and I've just
does.
realised that it's the creative side. Like, you have to let that out, and for a long
Mm.
time, you're just fixing boilers and doing maintenance stuff.
Do you
It's
find, as someone with an entrepreneurial mind, you just like keep looking for a project?
I don't
Because I
stop.
I can't stop myself, and I miss that like deal thing. Like
yeah.
you would, yeah. It's only been a couple of years since I've invested last, and I will get back to it. And at the moment, actually, there are a lot of deals to be had, so I'm on Rightmove all the time.
Mm.
And oh yeah, it'd be really cool. And I remember like all the negotiation and getting that deal, and then lining it all up, and yeah, so fun.
Oh, I do have another question. So, how did you? I know. Did you do a course? How did you learn about
Yeah, how did
how
you learn
to
about
do
property? Was it
property?
on the job
God,
when you
so
were
well, you guys are amazing because you've actually done loads of courses. So I probably haven't. Like I'm kind of the opposite. I feel like I was like, I'm going to learn as I go. My stepdad, who's a huge inspiration to me, is in property. And he's just like the most gentle soul. I could call him at any point and just go, I've got this problem. It could be the house is burning down, and he will be the calmest person and go, right, so what you need to do
Call
is
the insurance company.
calm. And that again actually really taught me that you
Oh,
don't need to be. I think often people think when you're going to be a business owner that you need to be like, really
Loud?
yeah,
Is that the
loud.
word? Yeah, we've literally been talking
And
about this.
like it's
yeah,
very masculine
It's very
energy.
masculine energy. Why
really
can't we
masculine
be female
energy. Like
investors?
dealing with builders, you don't have to. Like I've had my fair share of a builder being quite rude to me. Um, More so, I've had nicer ones, but I'm never going to match that energy.
Yeah.
Just not going to give my time to that. But anyway, so I think my stepdad's really inspired me with that because he has grown such a stable business and really enjoys working and has such an amazing work ethic, but in such like a calm way, just gets his head down.
Mm.
So I think he was a huge inspiration to me. If I had any problems, I could call him. Equally, he's so busy with his own thing that he wouldn't be there doing it for me or showing me. So I very much learned, I made a lot of mistakes. I only made those mistakes once. And yeah, I had a couple of really scary times where I thought, oh my God, I can't do this. Or, um, like, oh God, this project's cost me way more than I thought. I didn't take this into consideration, like I've had to stop a renovation and then I've thought, that's it. Am I going to have to stop, and then you figure it out and then you're like, oh, you come out the other side and your heart is going and you're like, I am not going to make that mistake again. So yeah, less so on the course for me, more so via the mistakes. But I just think that's a real quick way to learn.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you were fortunate that your stepdad was acted like a mentor for you. Uh,
Very much so.
mm.
Like he's super hardworking and doesn't really have loads of time. So I would honestly follow him around taking notes while he was doing different things. And as a kid growing up, um, my mum, was kicking off her career. She was actually somebody who started her career while she had actually loads of young kids. So that whole saying you can't have it all at once, like you can't, but if you want to make that work, totally you can find a way. Um, and so my stepdad we'd all pile in the car and, go and sit on the floor of somewhere that he was renovating or, he's in care homes. We would sit in the care homes and be freaked out by the older people. Um, or you'd find a cute one that would sit and read with you for a few hours while he was working. So naturally, I was always used to that real work ethic that sometimes you do just have to work 7 days a week. And if you want to get
Yeah.
somewhere, you do have to really put those hours in.
But you
You know,
you were able to see it firsthand, and I think that's an
yeah,
amazing way to be able to see that role model to you to go, "Oh, this is the norm. This is how I want to
yeah.
work."
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm, yeah, and then even now, like, I'm doing a couple of, remortgages, they're coming up to the end, and obviously it's not a great time to do it, and I'm on the phone to him, "What do you think about this?" And I can't quite figure this out with the maths, and, he'll just talk me through it, and often reminds me of, a time when they had really high interest rates, like, way worse than we have it,
Yeah.
um, and,
Yeah,
like,
when we first started
I
investing.
stayed.
You're like 2%.
We're like, "Whoa, no," even one of
Great.
ours was like 1 point something
It's like
percent. Yeah,
1.579 or
a
something.
joke, absolute joke.
An absolute joke, and now it's ridiculous. I'm talking to my broker, and he's like, "Are you gonna get back to me?" And I'm like, "I just don't want to."
No, leave me alone.
To me. Going back to
You
me, so let's
you
just not speak for a couple of days. Um, but yeah, and my stepdad's like a real support with me with that, and that's actually how we connect. That's our relationship, talking about work and property and things like that.
Oh, it's so nice that you have someone in the family that you can bounce entrepreneurial ideas off of, and you've got a
Mm.
role model who's there to support you. I think because Ruth and I we didn't have anyone in our family who was actively investing.
No, we have entrepreneurial parents, but when it came to investing, like they knew how to run their own businesses, but they never invested into any other assets. So we
Mhm.
needed to
That's
pay,
why we had to take a course to
Yeah.
get that information from someone.
and then we didn't really know anyone investing as well. So it's quite refreshing, like especially starting this space, to be able to talk to other people who are investing and they like talking about it. Whereas
Mhm.
then sometimes you don't feel like you can talk about
Yeah,
it with
no
your
one
other friends who
understands.
may not necessarily
Yeah,
understand, or they
and
think, "Oh,
also
shut up."
they also think you're not working or
Yeah,
doing anything.
yeah.
Someone they're working X hours and clocking on and off, and yeah, like, you maybe are doing a bit more traveling and doing a bit more lunches or whatever it might be, but in between, they don't know that you're maybe on the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning sorting out a
Yeah.
leak or, um
Yeah. Stripping wallpaper at 9 at night when really you
yeah,
just wanna go home.
exactly. So, yeah, it's really refreshing, and I think it's really important to connect with people in, with similar mindsets and just, like, keep each other lifted.
Definitely.
So is your stepdad your main sort of accountability person, or do you stay connected to anyone else who's doing the same
Yeah, my
same thing?
husband's in property, and he's really knowledgeable and just naturally really smart. So, often bounce ideas off with him, and we have to really make an effort to not just talk about work. Even from the minute we met, I would, and that was, I guess, I was more just getting going with mine, and he was like well into it with his business, um, and we would just end up chatting about that. And this is so not romantic. Like we need to have this conversation. Um, so yeah, that and then, you can find anything out online if need be, or you just figure it out as you go.
Yeah, there's so many free resources online and big
Mm.
what's it, Reddit and things like that, I suppose, where you can get other people's opinion and yeah,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can there's so many ways to learn. I think a mentor is the best way. Like what you've had is
Yeah,
hands-on
you guys
learning.
have had mentors, haven't you?
We
Yeah.
paid for one. Yeah. It was very good, actually.
How
Mm.
It was more for the best thing that we got from the mentor really was because we were like 20,
yeah.
we'd never been in a letting agency before.
It was just the
So it was
confidence.
like for
Mm.
Mm,
confidence. We didn't know anyone buying houses, so it mainly just to hold a hand to walk into one was the
yeah.
worth the money.
Yeah, I know, and it's funny, isn't it? Like, you grow up thinking that all of these grown-ups know so much more than you, and there's all these authoritative people in life, and then I honestly have only figured out in the last year, like, everyone is just winging it just as much.
Yeah.
Literally.
Not
Yeah.
less than person, you're not a less clever person,
Yeah.
you might just not speak as loudly sometimes. So,
Mm.
yeah, I think if there's anything I've learned, it's like, everyone's the same, everyone's just, like, winging it as well, and
Mm.
yeah, no one knows necessarily much more than the next person.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that you've embraced not being allowed just a loud person, and like owning the fact that you don't need to be. Like we definitely thought we had to be, even though, and that was like the sign of success is if you can be the loudest person in the room. But when we've always been observers our whole
Mhm.
life
Yeah,
and really try to listen and learn in that way. And we're
yeah.
really honing in to our feminine entrepreneur side in our 30s to, and I
Yeah.
feel like you've always oozed that throughout
Oh,
your
thank
whole entrepreneurial journey, and that's very inspiring.
you. But I mean, you guys are smart because speaking less and listening more, like you guys are so knowledgeable and know so much. And then, we'll give that on to anybody that wants to listen. But yeah, that's smart.
Aw.
To do it that
Thanks,
way.
Maddie.
Just bash it.
Yeah.
Just what is that? I feel like we
I think
have
we might have one more
covered.
question actually. We'll just double check. Didn't write it. It's on the phone, so we just.
I've written
But
a whole load of notes that I haven't even looked at. But I guess it just
Is there anything you
is there
want to
anything
like
that you?
actually cover or like
Yeah.
share or because this is totally flexible. This
Any wisdom?
um, well, in terms of wisdom, I just highly recommend finding a way to find an income that is as, like you say, as passive as possible. I don't think anything is fully, is it? To give yourself freedom to plan your own diary. I think I would say, don't think that time equals success or how hard it looks like you're working equals success. You can look like the
Mm.
busiest person in the world and actually be doing nothing. Um, or you can be working quite smart and achieving a lot, but it might not look that way to some people. And also, just don't worry about what it looks like to the outside world.
yeah.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like trying to validate yourself as more of an entrepreneurial person. Um, and I remember feeling a little bit of that insecurity of like, well, I need to be, looking like I'm dressed in a suit and in,
Mm.
working all the hours under the sun, but it, like,
Yeah.
might not necessarily take that. You might have a week where you're working 12-hour days, you might have a week where you're working 3-hour days, like,
Yeah,
it just
and that's
comes to that,
okay.
doesn't it?
You know what, actually, we'll say that when we did, absolutely love pet care, it was, like, the best thing
Mm.
we ever did, but we always led with it because we and it would be funny because we'd be doing our property in the background and wouldn't tell anyone that we were
About it,
doing
no.
this, but we'd have people being like, "Oh,
Real job.
when you get a real job," it's like, "This is a real I'm happy, I'm so happy." So
I know.
we would dress, to be honest, quite scruffy to see I think it was to see how people
Would judge
would
us.
judge us or treat us if we
Mhm,
look like this,
mhm,
it like being our real selves, how would people judge us
mhm,
if we led with, "Oh, we invest?"
mhm,
And it was just very interesting to see the kind of conversation on how people would treat us
mhm.
really,
Yeah,
with which
especially as a younger person, like, yeah.
'Cause we all started when we were in our 20s.
Mhm.
So that's just another hurdle, what isn't it? As well as
mm,
being women.
Yeah, and you grow that confidence, don't you? And then you think, "Yeah, it doesn't really matter what anyone thinks.
no.
I know what's going on," and, like, you guys and that's so cool that you had your like, that was such a passion of yours, the pet care business. So amazing.
Yeah, love it. Loved it. Oh, well,
Mal's got it,
Mal's
and
got
we're
now.
still helping Mal, so
Well,
then we
love
cover Mal when she's on holidays, so she's
You're like,
found a
"We'll
way
do
to
it."
such a nice community that you guys have, and I'm always saying to Mum, like, "Hey, should we go and do this today or whatever? Can we go and do this fun thing with the kids, like go to a farm or whatever?" I feel like I'm reliving my childhood. It's so much fun doing random stuff with a little little boy who has so much energy. And Mum will be like, "Oh no, I'm walking all these dogs today," and I'm like, "Come on, like, can you get someone else to walk?"
Get someone else.
She just absolutely loves it. Or she'll be like, "Yeah, I can come to the farm, but I'm gonna have to do this and then sneak off to do this much."
Yeah.
I can come to the farm, but let me just bring 5 dogs with
Yeah.
me.
But I think that's the thing when when people think people respect people who are or feel like I used to feel like people only respected
Yeah.
people who were working because they were sacrificing their time or they were
Yeah.
like looking a certain way or acting a certain
Yeah.
way.
But that's the
Why
question.
can't we like big up?
The
This is what
people
like you
this was
and
the reason.
Mao who are have actually can genuinely say I love the life that I have worked hard to make.
Yeah, and I can do what if I want to, mm,
Go
uh,
to a farm I
go to a
can.
farm, I can. Can I
Oh,
actually ask as
of
well that, because I had this experience, like, in your 20s, I know, like, we all have, like, lack of confidence, and did you ever feel like you were comparing yourself to other friends who were maybe climbing that corporate ladder, and you felt like, "Oh, I'm not so successful because I'm trying to match that, even though that's not my dream." Did you
Yeah.
ever feel like that comparison, like, really knocked off your confidence?
Yeah, I feel like I always knew for me, success, I mean, would literally equal having the freedom to wake up and have that day how I wanted to have that day and be in control of it. That was always kind of my idea of success. But I think it's just whatever makes you happy. Like in if having climbing that corporate ladder, and also that brings with it a lot of stability, a lot of good income and things like that. And I have a lot of friends that have incredible jobs that I could never do. And as long as they're happy and they're living their days
Mm.
out exactly as they want to, I think that's success. Um, for me, I chose to go this route and I feel most comfortable that way and being more in control of it. Um, yeah, so I don't know if that answered your question.
No, no, it
Yeah.
did, yeah,
So not
yeah.
so much on the comparison front. No, I didn't really ever find myself comparing, but I would often joke, one of my best friends who has an incredible career and works so hard, I'm like, "How do you go to all these meetings and talk to all these people and like chime in with your opinion about this, that, and the other?" And she's like, "Well, I have no idea how you would go and check in a tenant and sort all of this out and meet a builder and figure out how you're going to renovate a certain property." And I'm like, "Well, I find that easy." And she's like, "Well, I find that easy." And I guess what you're used to or what you
Yeah.
where you feel comfortable. I kind of feel
Mm.
comfortable weirdly in the slightly riskier side of things because I naturally think more positively. I think about what could happen, what the outcome could be. Um, And then some people feel safer just knowing what the outcome's gonna be. There's no risk
Yeah.
that anything can
Yeah.
go
That's
wrong.
true. Everyone's got different levels of risk aversion, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
For some
on
reason, I yeah, I'm pretty, like, not yeah, I'm pretty risky. I feel like I'm, like, quite comfortable investing,
yeah.
being on the more risky side because of what it of what it can bring, like, such a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're totally the same.
Yeah. And I think I would say a lot of that comes down to having a good support network to allow you to
Absolutely.
feel like you can take those risks.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think it's like you take a risk. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, you've learned something.
Yeah.
But it's not going to destroy you because you know you can go again, and that's a
Mhm.
mindset thing for sure.
Mhm. 100%.
Mm.
Mm.
I know that there's one question I think a lot of people are gonna wonder. How
Mhm.
did you find? Did you save to start? Did you save from your years at the letting agency, or did you manage to pull in financing using other people's money?
Yeah, so I didn't ever pull in financing from anybody else's money. I did lose my dad, 20 something years ago and was left a small amount of money, um, which I could either have kind of gone out partying with, or that was kind of an opportunity to team up. And I actually teamed up with my sister. And a lot of the times I would team up and do joint ventures with people until I'd built up enough capital to kind of go more and more on my own. So a lot of it as well was saving, like that sacrifice, not going out necessarily that weekend and saving that money. I think I remember having a conversation with my mum where she's like, "Why aren't you going out with your friends? Like getting dressed up and going out." I was like, "God, I've got to buy some blinds for this house that I'm going to try and rent. I've got these blinds." Where I was like not going out or not going to, I don't know, Ibiza or something because I needed to buy these blinds. That was the last thing that needed to go into the house before I could rent it out. But for me, I was like, that's where I'm going to make the money. And then I can go to Ibiza 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I want to do that at all now, but back in the day. Um, so yeah, a little bit of money to start me off. And that, is so much easier when you have that.
Mm.
Uh, Not, seeking knowledge from my stepdad, I would say, doing joint ventures to get going and basically save, and put everything you earn back in and just, don't live a great life for a while to be able to do that later, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being mindful of your spending, isn't it? Just to
Yeah.
go, okay, where can I pull
Mhm.
money in from each
Mhm.
resource to really just get this
Yeah.
set me up for life.
But we lived at home for the entire. We didn't even leave because it was like we
No.
were like 10 grand for accommodation. We're not paying that just to live in a student hall
Yeah.
we didn't like.
I
Um,
stayed at home and saved a lot as well. And it's
yeah.
really difficult. I don't know how people really do get into property without that outside investment. And I think it is
Yeah.
possible. And if you can find somebody that is in property that can see something in you, or you can prove yourself in some way to do a joint venture, even if you're not putting the money in, but you're putting the work in.
Mm,
Um, yeah, just getting that little like break to start.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like we've covered
I think
everything,
we've
but it's
covered so
just you're such an inspiration. You've basically started and had that mindset from way back,
Mhm.
and you knew you wanted children, so you built in investing into your family planning before the child was anywhere near here yet. And
Yeah.
now you're able to enjoy your life on your terms.
all doing it whilst what's that phrase like that, when people say I'm in my soft girl era, but you've
Oh
been in
yeah.
your
You've
soft
been that
girl
the whole
life
time.
and you've unapologetically done it, and I think
Aw.
that's so inspirational for other women especially, and mothers who don't want to feel like they have to work like
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 many hours to
many hours to be able to,
be away from their children and
yeah.
in order to make a
Yeah,
living. So
honestly,
yeah.
my little one.
Yeah.
Aww.
Oh.
Thank you guys. You guys are like have really, really inspired me and watching you from a distance. And I think now let's stay connected and just
Yeah.
in these
Oh, I'd
journeys.
love that because we're not that far from each other. So, like, why haven't we been? I don't know why. Oh,
Aw.
well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Maddie.
Maddie.
If you want to, would you like us to share your Madison's Mazens or your personal one?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't mind. Either one. Personal's fine. Yeah, whatever.
Do you want to share what the handle is?
Oh, okay. So, oh my God, what actually?
Little self promo if you like. I'm
I
trying to manifest that interior design thing for you
Oh
because I
God,
can so
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
guys, my businessy one, just where it's actually more for me to keep track of what I've been up to over the years, um, is Madison Maisons with an S. And then, yeah, my personal is, I think it's Madison underscore 2C, TOUSSI. But yeah.
So if anyone's
Yeah.
listening to this or watching this, then you can keep an eye on all of Maddie's projects, and we will be putting her handles down below in the description of this podcast as well. Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks,
Really, really
Maddie.
appreciate
I,
you
I
being
need
here.
to not leave, don't I?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
okay.